Hope you're managing to keep cool and drink plenty on what could be the hottest day on record. It's also a pretty memorable day for Mrs. Sharon Cromie, who's the head teacher at Wycombe High School. And after just under 14 years, today is her last day. And I've been speaking to her on what is a day of mixed emotions.
So obviously it's a planned retirement, an early retirement, so I have to be happy about that and, with plans in place. But also a very sad day to be leaving Wycombe High School after almost 14 years. It's been a wonderful time here with fantastic students, and I'm going to miss that terribly.
You must have overseen so many changes, both to the school physically, but also within the school as well.
Yes, that's absolutely right. So it's only when time passes and you look back that you can see just how much change there has been. And the whole world of education on a national level has seen so many changes in the last 13, 14 years, with change, reform of A-levels and GCSEs and academisation and multi-academy trusts and periods of deep austerity, etc. So we've had all of that to deal with. And of course, at Wycombe High School itself, we've just tried to keep going. And we've had new buildings and new facilities, increased numbers of students. Yes, lots of change. But one thing always remains the same, and that's the joy of young people. They come in year 7 every year, and that happy chatter and that laughter. It's a sign that in summer holidays you miss it terribly, and I know it's a sign that's in my brain that will never go away, and it's just the most wonderful noise.
Are there particular highlights or things that stand out? Because I realise they might be different things, especially over the last years.
It's really hard, Colin, to sort of, pick one thing, because the minute I do it, I'll regret that I didn't pick another thing, and someone will say, oh, but you forgot this. We became one of only 40 mathematics hubs in England. That was a really pride moment for us at Wycombe High School as we waved the flag for girls in mathematics up to A-level and beyond. We're a national training centre for mathematics and physics with hubs across the whole of England, as far north as Bolton, which again was a very proud moment for us. We've been a teaching school. We've been a specialist mathematics and computing school. These are, educational initiatives. And they're all really proud moments. When we opened the music centre, our brand new music centre, and we opened our new Astra turf, when we refurbished our sixth form and made it more like a university, refurbished the dining, all of these things were exciting and proud. But I think really, and I mean this most sincerely, the standout moment for me was after the 2 years of the pandemic, which was just an extraordinary point in history. And in September of this academic year, we all came back together. And the absolute joy on everyone's faces is something that I will never forget. Young children saying, oh, it's so good to be back. It's fabulous to be in school with friends. We've missed this so much, is just a real standout moment.
And the high standards must be something that you're so proud of as well, not just academically either.
Yes, we do pride ourselves on high standards, but we don't just focus on examination results. That sort of follows. If everything else about a school is right, the academics take care of itself almost. But, high standards of behaviour, high standards of, expectations are high for every aspect of school life. And, when you've got a staff and a student body that makes sure there are 100 clubs and societies on offer every term, either staff or student-led, that tells you something about the people in the community and their drive and their enthusiasm to offer opportunity. And I think that is one word that defines Wycombe High School, opportunity. And I hope that many, many generations to come continue to benefit from that. And that's how it started out. 1901, it was a pioneering school set up at a time when female education wasn't even really on the national agenda, and it's continued in that very vein up to this day and will do, I have no doubt, for many centuries to come.
And we talked about the pandemic, and obviously we're fortunate enough to speak to you during it as well, and the resilience of both the students and the staff and the way they've bounced back as well. well.
Yeah.
A real credit.
It is a real credit, and the media and the chatter that goes on around that, about this generation, and they haven't sat examinations, and how do we know what they're worth, and woe is me. Well, what I see day in and day out is young people who have put up with a lot, who have dug deep, who are very resilient, very determined now to get on with their lives, with a drive to do things because they have seen what it feels like to be cooped up for 2 years, and they don't want to be kept back, and they're giving it their all. So I think employers and universities and apprenticeship providers are fortunate to have them. They are a generation like no other in a positive sense.
Is there a way you'd like to be remembered as during your time as head? Because I know sort of the sort of perception of head teachers has changed a lot over the years, hasn't it?
Yes. Well, it's quite funny, myself included. When you walk into any head teacher's office, you sort of feel a little bit perturbed. I suspect, Colin, and this is the right and proper course of things. Once you move on, the next person comes in, and the world continues, and none of us are dispensable, and you are in many ways just forgotten. But I'm here to have continued the history of the school, to pick up on the great work of former head teachers before me. I hope I've done that. I hope people feel I've done a decent job. And for the ones, who occasionally that perhaps I've had to have a conversation with about the error of their ways, I hope as young adults they will realise that, making mistakes in school is the right place to make them, and that having difficult conversations with your head teacher is not the end of the world.
And it must be so great to be in such a sort of position where you can have such an impact on youngsters' development.
Yes, well, I say it often that the teaching profession is the greatest profession in the world. Where else do you get to work with so many young people, a committed workforce, and help to, children are like works of art. You start a painting, it takes a long time to develop it and make it the final product, and to contribute to that life journey, and to be very stand-up proud at the end of it to have played your part in someone leaving school confident and ready to take on their job or the next stage of education is extraordinarily rewarding. There are challenges. It's not an easy job, but no job is. But it is highly, highly rewarding, and it keeps us all young and in touch because we are surrounded by young people all the time.
It must be so nice when you hear about former students as well who've gone on to be successful too. Yes,
we're very fortunate at Wycombe High School to have a very vibrant alumni association. We've got almost 3,000 members across, internationally connected as well, and they continue to give back to the school to nurture and offer networking, employment and internship opportunities to current students and students who leave. That network of Wycombe High School students, former students across the world, is growing day by day, and they are fantastic. They come in and give talks about their careers, their life stories and their journeys, and some of them are they're all doing extremely well. Some of them are perhaps more well-known in the world because of their jobs than others. For example, like Rachel Burden on Radio 5 and Isha Gua with all her presenting. But there are many examples of that, and we are proud of each and every one, whatever pathway they choose.
So what's next for you?
Well, that's a good question. We didn't plan to finish school in a heat wave, so that's a bit exhausting. And full credit and kudos to our staff and students. The decision to open or close a school is always a difficult one. When I started in January 2009, there was lots of snow in Buckinghamshire at the time. So I think I'm ending, as I started, with weather decisions. We decided to stay open because the pandemic demonstrated to us that children are safer in school, and I didn't want to close the school and drive young people to rivers or water, for example, and the risks that involve, or for parents to have to take time off from being nurses or doctors or policemen or firefighters, etc., because we do play a role in keeping society going. So we're very proud to have got to the end. I'm very proud that today marks the first time in 3 years that we will have completed a full academic year. So we'll get that done, and then I think I'm taking a day off tomorrow to see my son graduate, and then I'm back in school Thursday and Friday, and then after that I hope to do a little bit of educational consultancy work, and I'm very excited to be taking on a very part-time role with the International Coalition of Girls' Schools, which sees a formal coalition across the UK, United States of America, Canada, Australia and parts of Africa to support the voice of girls' schools internationally.
Oh, sounds fantastic. And I know you're keen on travelling as well, so hopefully I get to do some more of that.
I am very keen on travelling, Colin. And for the first time in my working career, I don't have to go on school holidays anymore. So I have to say that is very exciting. And I'm hoping it will be a lot cheaper too.
No, definitely. And I think when you spoke to Bob, there was a suggestion that you might like to do some presenting on Wycombe Sound as well.
I would love to do that if you'd have me.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that would be great. So it's just nice to have the opportunity to think of new things and new adventures. And I think that's what everyone's life is like now, isn't it? When I started off my working career, you thought you went and did one thing. And now I think there's a realisation actually you can change path and do lots of different things in your life.
No, it's fantastic. Well, congratulations on your retirement, early retirement, and your time at the school as well, and all that you've achieved. And thank you so much. Great to chat to you.
No, thank you very much, Colin, for everything that you and Wycombe Sound do as well. And the final word from me, if I may, a huge shout out to the wonderful Wycombe High School community and family, and my sincere thanks for them. It's been a blast.
A pleasure to speak to you, outgoing head teacher at Wycombe High School, Sharon Cromie, and as she said, might not be the last you've heard of her on Wycombe Sound.
Online, on Radio Player, and on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound.